I wanted to make a video because obviously we want to make sure that you guys are getting something from me every single week on the YouTube channel. And this week, and really the last couple of weeks, we have seen some crazy bullish movement from NASDAQ. If you guys have been following me, you guys know that's basically the one and only thing I trade at this point. And this has been a historical run that we've seen pretty much all 2024. And that led me to think, like, how can we help the community catch these moves? And something really important, especially when you're trading indices, that I found to be extremely helpful is understanding how to catch the trend. Everybody always wants to know, how can I understand where the trend is going? Because if you know where the trend is going, you're basically gonna ride the wave every single time. And when it comes to NAS, you're gonna have times where the market has those crashes, right? Those big drops. But when you can catch the reversals back going bullish, historically indices are bullish, right? They're gonna be pushing up every single year for decades, because that's where people's retirement, 401k plans, index funds, all that stuff is there because of that consistent push to the upside year after year after year. So if you can really look for those big drops that happen from time to time in the stock market and wait for those corrections to follow back the bullish trend, that's where we've seen some really great opportunities. And I want to jump on the charts and actually show you what that looks like from a technical analysis perspective so that you guys can continue to catch these big moves with me. Let's go. All right, so here we got the chart pulled up for NAS 100. And what I'm going to be talking about when it comes to, catching the shift in trends and being able to understand what trend we're really in to, again, ride those big waves, turn a small trade into a swing trade, etc., is going to come from number one, understanding that the higher the time frame, the more it matters, right? And that goes for pretty much anything that is a price action element when it comes to trading, is that the higher time frames are always going to have more significance. For me, a really good sweet spot when it comes to NAS is the 1 hour time frame when it comes to really getting a feel for what type of trend we're in. So again, context is important, understanding what instrument we're trading. There's a reason why I like trading NAS 100. It has a lot of daily range, right? It has a lot of movement pretty much on a daily basis. And we know that historically it's going to be trending bullish. So we have that inclination to really look for those very solid, high probability buy setups when the structure is shifting bullish. Again, if you're trading forex pairs, if you're trading commodities, you have to really get to know how that instrument behaves in the short term, in the long term, historically. So again, indices, but really NASDAQ is my specialty. And this is the reason why. I think it creates very clean price action, especially with one major key element that's a factor here, which is key levels. Now, we're going to zoom into this first part of the, range here that we want to focus on, which is this 18,620 level. Now, there was a couple of times here where we could find opportunities. Again, why is this a key level? Because we have to see where price touches repeatedly. Some people will say this is a support and resistance level. I'm not going to argue the terms, right? The important thing to understand is that price gravitates to this specific level for whatever reason. So we see that price touches here. We have a breakout here. We touch here, here, and here. And again, you can just see historically, we are touching this price point a lot. So this is a significant area to pay attention to. Now, there was a point here where we could start to see that NAS was having those pullbacks. From really far back over here, we can see that the structure started pushing. And here we had a short-term downtrend, right? A short-term kind of reversal to the downside. And this is where we can start finding opportunities to catch those reversals in the market, start catching that correction of the overall trend, which is bullish across the board for indices and NASDAQ, right? So again, we're looking at these pullback areas and we're waiting for structure to shift. And if it shifts at those key levels, that is an even higher probability type of setup. So again, let's kind of focus in on this very specific piece of price action. And we'll see, again, we had price come up, push lower, sit around, we came lower, And here's really where we start to shift slightly. But we don't really have a strong shift yet until we get to about here. But this was the beginning. We start seeing that wick rejection to the downside. We start seeing price come and close higher. And right here, once we break this 18,620 level, this is that first sign that we are now really correcting in the market. Now, the good thing is we could take advantage of those type of situations a couple of different ways. And this is where you could scale down to smaller time frames like the 30-minute, the 15-minute, even something like the 5-minute is fine because we've already used the 1 hour and higher time frames to really look for that shift, right? To really identify those key levels and have that framework to work with. So higher time frames, we want to get trend and direction and key levels, and then smaller time frames like the 30, the 15, and the 5 for those precise entries, and just basically the entry signals. Okay, so number one, we see again downtrending market forming lower highs and lower lows. Here we start to show that initial shift right here, but it wasn't really until we had this very strong breakout that we could execute a buy position. Now, the cool thing is, even if you would have, let's say, not anticipated the breakout or you didn't catch the breakout and now price is leaving, we've seen that when we have these big imbalances in the market, which I do use imbalance as a confirmation. It is one of the smart money concepts that I have learned in my career of trading. That is a confirmation or another reason to get into this trade, but we're really just focusing on trend direction here. But this was another opportunity to basically get into that, original entry that we probably could have gotten in on the breakout here. So we have one, and we even have another try at it right here. So typically for me, I like to use 50-point stops or 500 pips for my trades on NASDAQ. So you can see here, if we traded the breakout, we'd be up, back to break even here. And then we basically smack TP here, get another entry, and then smack TP again. My TPs are usually 3-to-1 plus. I like to, manage it a certain way, which I've made prior videos on. So if you want to see how I trade manage and turn small opportunities into big swings, you can check out the video on this link up here to go back and see how I manage. But for the most part, again, this was our first real good example of how, again, we understand that NASDAQ is overall bullish. We have a time in the market where we start seeing it downtrending slightly. We wait for that correction, and then we pull the trigger right here. Key level, shift of structure. We get 1, 2, 3 opportunities to come into the market, snag a 3-to-1. And again, if you employ the other tactics of how to extend the position, this has ended up running for over a 6, almost 7-to-1 at this point before coming back down, and ultimately would have ended up hitting stop if you tried holding past that, right? So that is our first example here. We're gonna go back to the 1 hour time frame, and we're gonna look at some other opportunities. Now, I will say, for example, this buy setup right here, that was something that we caught, myself and my akashx students, part of our private mentorship program, where I do all of my educational videos, my live sessions, my trade alerts, signals, everything. So if you want some more information on the private mentorship, akashx, you can find the links down below in the bio and the description of the video. Now, this was, again, a buy opportunity, but this isn't even really one of those prime examples of the shift of structure. If you're looking at it on the 1 hour time frame, if we look at this on smaller time frames like the 15-minute, this is really where we could have seen that trade coming, right? Because again, we had a massive drop in the market for NASDAQ during this time, and it wasn't really until this point where we started waiting for the reversals. So we don't ever want to try to catch the bottom or the tops. People try to catch bottom and tops and end up getting stopped out because they're usually going against the trend. When you're catching tops and bottoms, you're looking for reversals, sometimes prematurely. We need to wait and be patient for the market to really show us from a structured perspective that price is indeed turning around. So again, we have our huge drop. Now, where is our structure points? We can see we had the low, we had this small time high, we had a little pullback, and here we really start to shift structure. We pull back again, and once we break here, this is really where we started showing on the 15-minute time frame and below a opportunity to buy. Now, part of my Liberty strategy is also looking at these ranges that we see here. So this was a super confirmation type of trade, which is why it was taken. But again, I would say for the most part, if we stick to the 1 hour time frame, that's a safer bet when it comes to the shifts of structures that we can take advantage of. But as you can see, you can utilize this on smaller time frames as well if you like scalping or just being in and out of trades a little bit quicker. But here we really see again the low, a high, a pullback, an official break and close shift of structure that ends up taking us to the next key level. So that's another example. And obviously, guys, we're looking at prior historic price. It's very easy to, go back in hindsight and look at this. But again, these are trade alerts and trades I've taken myself that the community has also been able to take with me. And that's what you want to understand, is that this is not something that happened before a couple times. This is something that continues to happen over and over on NAS. Another trade that I caught with my students was this 18640 entry, right? And we can see, again, we had a long-term downtrending market where the market was pushing lower, 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 and really we climaxed at this point. So if we start looking at this entire move to the downside, where do we start really seeing that shift of structure take place? For me, it's going to be this last significant high, right at the key level of 18620, once again, where we've already seen multiple opportunities that we've already analyzed here with two prior examples, right? So we have this high, we've established this low. Now for the structure to shift back bullish, we would have to break and close above this 18620 level once again. So we can see price has that 18620 level broken and closed through. Obviously, price has now pulled back. You're going to have those pullbacks, those corrections in the market. So you necessarily don't always want to trade the breakout of the shift of structure on the high time frames like the 1 hour, especially if it's a high point in the market. If we are seeing shift of structure that happen when we are in a low part of a range, for example, you had this high, you have this low, and we're seeing the shift of structure take place towards the low, that's a safer one to just take off the shift of structure right away. But in this example, we see that the low is all the way over here. So when we shift up here, to be taking entries right away without that pullback first is riskier. So in this case, we start seeing that shift of structure. What happens? Price comes up here. Now, this is the crucial part of this trade. We finally get our pullback. We need to make sure that this low is not violated. We see that it definitely does not come close at all to breaking that. So once we come back above here, we get one more pullback, respecting that low as well. And right here was that perfect moment back above the key level, trading within session. And we are getting that confirmation that we are breaking and closing back above those structure points. And again, that was one of the trades that I called out on the signal group. We had an official entry at 18640. So obviously, the stop loss placement and everything is the only thing that can get you, I guess you could say, in trouble or just make you tap a stop loss, because we did get pretty close to it. I remember this trade was called out and we ended up getting about this close to stop loss, but we did not violate, ended up recovering and then making the push back above. And again, always I try to, target a 3-to-1 risk to reward. But I kept in mind that, we had this key level that we have seen the market reach before. So even when we smacked that 3-to-1, we saw the potential to hold that to over a 5-to-1 risk to reward. Again, if you wanted to keep holding past that, that is where trade management comes into play. But last examples here, we get price consolidating after that big push. We see that price came lower, respected the lows, came back to the key level. And then here we finally get that confirmation where we're breaking above that. And that's another buy entry that we can get on the correction of the consolidation slash short-term downtrend that Nas was trying to form here before ultimately breaking back bullish and creating a new move. Currently, where price is at right now, the recording of this video, which is June 15th, we see that we are now getting similar pattern again. Price has basically respected this area of demand, formed this key level. We see price trying to make that short-term downtrend, and it has now shifted once again. So to be continued, right? But monitor this, trend that's currently happening. I think that 20K is a level that is a very strong psychological whole number that we may be inclined to hitting for a new milestone in the NASDAQ markets. So that is pretty much it when it comes to this concept of, catching the right trends. And all of this, again, stems from me understanding, backtesting, knowing the instrument that I'm trading, which is NAS, understanding that it is overall historically a very bullish asset. And so we're not really, too focused on trying to catch every sell. We can catch sells, but we understand that overall the market is going to want to correct and push bullish for the most part. And once we start seeing those corrections, we can really start riding that wave back up and putting some strong risk on that, right? All right, y'all. So I hope you found this video helpful, useful to helping you become a better trader overall. Like I mentioned, we will be in Mexico over the next couple of days. So vlog will be coming. Make sure you guys check that out. And please, 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 if you guys love this channel, we want to continue to grow it. Let's make sure to like, comment, subscribe, turn on those post notifications, and share this with absolutely everybody you know in the trading community as we continue to grow day in and day out. But until the next video, guys, appreciate y'all, and let's run it up.